Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so proud of myself. I've been so consistent. Just random first card that comes up. Anyway, this is going to express that success does not happen overnight. Okay. Y'all may have felt a lot of doom and gloom around. And there's many reasons why you feel that way. First of all, feeling bad is free, you know? Bad news travels faster than good news. Okay, that's number two. Number three, it's really lucrative. So sometimes it's easy to not think on social media or on these social platforms that there's a financial incentive to share doom and gloom because it gets more views. That means advertisers can advertise more. So it can create the skewed perception of the world. It doesn't mean that there aren't issues obviously going on in the world, but the more that people can kind of bite into conspiracies or bite into just this constant sadness, really can be a financially lucrative thing for people who are creating that kind of content. Also, what it does is it traumatizes everyone's nervous system. They're constantly seeing the same thing over and over again and nothing happening. And so that disenfranchises the people and they feel like, oh, they can't do anything. But the reality is actually there's a lot you can do. First and foremost, I know I said all the time it's a contradiction, but you can turn the stuff off. There's plenty of things you can do. And you may feel that you are too small or you are not big enough that it will be an impact. Look, everyone, this is a human thing. Everyone thinks when they're younger, they're going to grow up and do something amazing to save the world. And then later on, those same people who actually changed the world end up going to jail because they did something really illegal. It's all a perception. The truth is this: we have to come together in our small acts as a collective. It is important that we all come together in our each and everyday activities. What does that mean? You can support local businesses, small businesses. You can be a decent human being when you're walking around. Somebody says hello to you. You say, okay, hello, hi, back, and just be a decent human being, be understanding, keep the door open for someone. Just it's the little stuff. And you think that it's not that important, but it actually is. We have to learn how to live with each other. And in a society that is growing more and more chronically online, as they say, I know y'all saw that video, the more and more chronically online, more and more in a space where they're getting a skewed perspective based off of opinion pieces online. This is how this group of people feel about that group of people, this, and that. A lot of times dialogue is important to have. Sometimes you get solidarity in experiences you didn't realize. Like, oh, okay, wow, I never knew this and that. But oftentimes it really is to create an environment where there is a us against them. And if there's a us against them, whatever the us is, there's all kinds of different us's and there's all kinds of different thems. We'll forget our common humanity towards each other. We all have to take care of each other. We have to take care of ourselves and we have to care about each other. It doesn't mean we have inadequate boundaries. It doesn't mean that, we are being taken advantage of or we take advantage of others, but we have to care about the decency. We are the same species, okay? It's actually really funny because there's more genetic variation within racial groups than there are in comparison to races, which is kind of funny. So it tells you that where people are from regionally or, where their DNA is from, there's more variation than what we would consider in a socially constructed way. Isn't that, I just find that super fascinating. Anyway, say that to say that success doesn't happen overnight. I tried to break it down for you all so you all understand that it's not like, oh, okay, let me just be happy, I'm motivated now after you've listened to me and now you're like, I'm going to go out and be successful. How am I going to send you out to be successful in a world if you cannot comprehend, or there's no conversations happening about the world you're going into. I try to break down what's happening in the world that you're going into so that you're not in a situation where you're like, I'm so happy, and then there's disparities happening and you're like, I don't know what to do with them about that. No. See things for what they are. That's why I'm saying it's important for you to take care of yourself, and it's important for each and every one of us to care about the humanity of others. If we're all being taken care of, because contrary to what we have been told via capitalism, okay, it is very possible for everyone on this earth to be fed. It is very possible for everyone on this earth to have adequate housing. How do we know that? Because there is such a huge wealth inequity, okay? That people have so much money flowing over and over and over. Some people and some businesses have more money than countries, okay? More money than countries. We already have enough food in the world to feed everyone. But because of forced scarcity, what do? They go and burn crops. They go and do this in order to control the price of whatever this is. I had an econ professor one time in college that went on this interesting rant about beet farmers and how they had these lobbyists, and this was a long time ago. But when they were talking about this, he was like a very, very old guy. And he was like, isn't that fascinating that they lobby for these beets in order to make sure that the beet prices are being in control or whatever, like beet prices are still lucrative. So that's what's happened. That's what you've seen from a U.S. perspective, of course. But a lot of this fuckery happens around the world too, that select groups can control what should be common for all of us, for the common good, in order to help themselves out. And then we can see how that's amplified over and over again in time. Okay, back to your success, right? Your success first starts by deconstructing the idea or the understanding that there's nothing I can do. Things are hopeless right now. There's nothing I can do. It's just getting worse. Let me tell you, since the beginning of time, actually any generation, go talk to any old person and they'll say, this generation is the worst generation. And guess what? Old people said that about their generation too. It happens all the time. They're always talking about the generation. Times are getting worse. Doom and gloom. This and this and that. I've been saying this for a while. Is it getting worse? Are things becoming more visible? Also, we've had different civilizations too, so that's a separate conversation to have. But is it becoming more visible? So now we can't just live in, Also, people are coming of age. People, may have been a child. They may have been a young adult. They may have been in their mid-adulthood, and now they're at a different space. So that, can cause you to be jaded as well, too. With all that being said, you have to deconstruct that. You have to be able to have some balance, some temperance, to know what you can and can't do. But mostly, I want you to focus on what you can do, because everyone's really comfortable with what they can. I can't do this. I'm overwhelmed. I can't give up anything. You can't let go of anything. No, I can't let go of the people. I can't let go of my job. I can't let go. And I'm not in any way convincing people to just shut people out and quit their job and have nothing. But I'm saying there's always an option. Even when you feel like there's not an option, there's always an option. Even if you're preparing yourself for a next chapter. Oh, I'm too overwhelmed. I can't do any of that. And I'm too overwhelmed to prepare myself for another chapter. You can do it. You can do it. You think this is the first time in humanity that anyone has ever struggled? No. You cannot let that be the beginning and the end of your story. People typically follow a crowd. That's why when you look at cults and you're trying to understand, why would someone follow something that makes no sense? Because enough people that they liked and they appreciated also followed it. That happens all the time. We see that now, the doom and gloom cult now that is happening. There's enough misery in the world, enough wealth inequity that people come together to say, see, things are hopeless and horrible. I want you to think about when there were world wars. People, rightfully so, thought the world was going to end. And what happened within religious movements? Well, during that time, a lot of religious movements started to pop up, as they typically do in times of turmoil, to say, hey, the times are going to end anyway. I have the solution for you. And people are like, okay, I'm going to do this. And when time did not end, because somebody told me back in the day, shout out to her, I can't even remember her name. I used to work with her back in the day. She said, humans are so narcissistic that they think that their generation is the generation where the earth is going to end. And I sat and thought about that. I was like, yes, that is so funny, to think like, oh my gosh, the world is going to end when I'm here, as opposed to it ending before, after, or the millions of years that it's been here before. The millions of years, the years when sponges took over, years before the dinosaurs, okay, years before, millions, billions, okay, of years here. The years it took to have the fossil fuels, millions of years. But of course it would end with us. Like any species in time, it'll come and go. I like this. I like to follow this channel. It's called EOS, right? And it's like, paleontology, archaeology, stuff like that. And they had this one video that was really funny. That's why I always refer to the sponges. And it's called When the Sponges Took Over the World. And basically the sponges, like loofah, like sponges, they went and they really took over the world, like many species can do. Like our species is dominating the world. And it took over the world, and it used up all of the resources. And what happens when you use up all the resources? You die away. So it started to die away. I'm pretty sure there were other things that happened as well that impacted these sponges. And guess what? All of them became natural material for whatever else came afterwards. What does that tell you? It is not encouraging you to use up the world. It's giving you a story of life that, hey, be mindful. Okay, let's let this beautiful earth last as long as we can. But it also tells you that the experiences you're experiencing today are not unique to you or even your species, okay? So you don't have to feel hopeless. I know I feel like I'm going around to get to this point. And I appreciate everyone who likes how I explain things, because I can't just be like, oh, you're so motivated today. Go out and do great in the world. And the world is like traumatizing you, okay? So you have to have this temperance. You have to have balance. You also have to have a bit of bravery to understand that a lot of times success has to do with luck. Yeah, very much so. But you, in many ways, create your own luck. You have to be there, and you have to be prepared. Also, you have to be connected or have the right financial, whatever. But mostly you have to have whatever the thing is. And how do you get what that thing is? Whether it is a skill, whether it is something that you are saving or developing or building, it starts with today. It starts with building yourself today, doing some work on it today. But so many people are overwhelmed, I've been saying this, with their nervous system, that they can't even start. They can't even put, one metaphoric foot in front of the other to just start building today because they're overwhelmed. I think what needs to happen is we actually need to bring back boredom. Okay, this says inspiration, okay? We need to bring back boredom. Because what do you do when you're bored? When you're bored, you'll get very creative. Think about it. Species figured out so many things. Okay, think of the fall of the Roman Empire. Here I am going on another civilization tangent. The fall of the Roman Empire. And basically what happened with Rome? Well, Rome was pretty much controlled by a bunch of large families, like the families that had a lot of control. And they were able to expand and, conquer this, and that. But what's important about that? They were conquering this, and what people or what civilizations did at the time is when they needed to get more money, what they would do is they would just go steal somebody else's land and then like pillage and plunder. So they would expand in order to expand their tax base. And then they, of course, would tax the people, you are a whatever of this, So what they would do is once they get that income, where would it go back? It would go back to Rome, okay? So there were concentrations of cities that had so much wealth in a time where people were still nomadic. There were still many people around the world that were nomadic. And those people even existed within that region, because when these large civilizations fell, even prior to that, but fell, those nomadic people were the people that were impacted the least, because they were still, doing what they were doing, So anyway, to get to the original point, when you have something like that, when the rest of the world is still kind of like nomadic, when I say nomadic, I'm not going to over explain that. When the rest of the world is still kind of nomadic, you can then specialize. You see this in like Egypt as well, but you can specialize. You can specialize in ways that you couldn't before. What does that mean? That means that in Rome, they figured out how to have heated floors, okay? Thousands of years ago, they figured out how to have heated floors. They figured out how to have a bunch of things. But once that fell, those specialties, they were no longer needed. You didn't have that anymore. There were still cities and stuff that existed and stuff, but the trade routes that were able to take these really exotic things from over here all the way over there no longer existed. You had grandparents telling their grandchildren about this exotic fruit that they once were able to have access to. So when you're bored, it doesn't matter. Now, fast forward into the future, we have all of this technology, but we are so inundated by constantly being consumed by our attention. Our attention is being sold in order to get us to take whatever money we have and buy whatever thing that someone is selling, that we don't even have the space to be bored anymore. So if you give yourself boredom, that's why you see a lot of people wanting to do more community events again, because they want to be out in the real world. They want to be more in control of their attention. If you have boredom, you have the ability to be able to come up with new things with the technology you have now. With our access to information today, you can be anything. You have at your fingertips the ability to search how to become anything. But what people are lacking currently is attention span, as well as the belief that they can do it. That's the most important part. You have to be a leader. You have to go set yourself out. And being a leader doesn't mean you're convincing people to follow you. Being a leader means you actually go lead yourself and no one for a long time. And that's okay. Typically, when you step out and you're like, I'm going to take some initiative, for the most part, you just do a lot of nothing for a long time, or it feels like you're doing a lot of nothing. But it's never really like financial ruin. You might feel like you wasted your time, but you don't, because you being able to build or develop yourself is going to be helpful to you, okay? But you have to fight against that urge, the urge to conform to the doom and gloom, to think that success needs to happen now. And also, if I could just give y'all a little bit of a warning, be careful with all this gambling. That's how you can tell how people are being farmed in order to get money out of them, instant money. Be careful with the gambling, the poly market, the sports betting, the this, the that, like the get rich quick. That's all it is, get rich quick. Be careful, because people are out here struggling. They don't have that much, but they will still come and get whatever you got. Okay, they will come and get whatever you got. But if you take a step back, you might realize that you do have resources available to you to create whatever it is that you want to create. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that, which, came up this week. Yeah, you know me, I like to explain what's going on, but also I like to connect it to what has already happened before. I think the more that you know, and the more that you're able to make your own choices of what you want from your life, again, the most important thing that I want to point out here is when you make a choice from your life, it doesn't mean that other people agree with you. It doesn't even mean that other people are following you or that you even have a community. You might even have little communities in little pockets of your life that you appreciate this or you appreciate that or this and that. But when you truly lead yourself and just live by a good like ethics, be a decent human being, treat yourself right, try to be good to your neighbors, you will have a happier life in a way that a get rich quick thing can't, could never actually work. In a way where the little bit of dopamine that we get by chronically being online, it's not worth it. Or even when you get in groups and just wanting to be accepted, so you follow along. No, it's just like what you need to do for yourself. And along that process, you will meet people, typically like one-off, like one-on-one, that also share in some aspect. And give yourself freedom and give others freedom too, to figure out life in the way that they need to. Care about the decency of other human beings as well as yourself. And just be the best that you can be in the moment. Give yourself grace. It's okay. And try again. No matter where you're starting today, it's okay to try again. Well, getting off my soapbox. I'm done. I'll see you next week. Pat myself on the back, for continuing to show up, and for whoever is continuing to watch each and every week. I hope this is helping you feel better, and I hope it feels different and unique from what you've seen. Okay, bye now.